Hello, hello, welcome to Love Good Kitchen. My name is Matthew. Thanks for being here. Let's do some baking, shall we? Today we're going to make my family's favorite chocolate chip cookie. We actually have a few different chocolate chip cookie recipes that we enjoy frequently, but this is probably the #1 favorite. And it is supposedly it is a dupe for the DoubleTree Hotel cookies that they give out, or at least they used to give out at the DoubleTree Hotel. So a little bit unusual in a couple of the ingredients and the method. We'll get to that in a second. But they're pretty easy to do and they are delicious. So let's get started. I do have my recipe out in case I need to reference or if I forget some of the ingredient amounts. I don't want to be telling you wrong. However, don't worry about trying to write down the recipe, what you see here, because I will list the recipe down below in the description box. Okay, so I am using my Pampered Chef stand mixer. You can do this in any stand mixer. You can also do it with a hand mixer, or if you really wanted to, you could not use a mixer at all and just use your arm strength and do some intense stirring. But any of those are options. In the bowl of my mixer, I have 2 sticks of softened butter, and to that we're going to add 3/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, and then we've got 3/4 cup of brown sugar that's packed, and I measured it. Let me make sure there isn't anything else that I'm supposed to be adding in for the initial, no. Okay, so we're just gonna get this going and cream it together. Okay, so I think that's good. Next up, we're going to add 2 eggs. There's 1. And 2. We're going to add some, I've got my towel out there. We're going to add some vanilla, about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. It's kind of an odd measurement, but I'm not going to knock it because these cookies are delicious. About 1.5. Also, I don't know if I've shared with you before, but when it comes to measuring your vanilla extract, most extract bottles, the cap is 1 teaspoon. So that might be handy if you don't want to get out the measuring spoons for that. Leave that there. And then the other thing we're going to add right now is about 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon-ish of lemon juice. That's going to come into play a little bit later when we add our dry ingredients, because it includes baking soda and there's a baking science reaction that's going to happen there. All right, let's get this combined. Okay, next up, we're going to deal with the dry ingredients. Now, the recipe doesn't actually say to do this, but it's something that I almost always do with my baking recipes, and that is to combine the dry ingredients before you add it to the wet ingredients. Whether that be putting them in a bowl and using a whisk to stir together, or sift them. I do have a sifter somewhere, but today we're going to do the bowl and whisk method. But I just think it helps incorporate all the dry ingredients together, because once it hits the wet ingredients, if they're not evenly dispersed, it can kind of clump up and you can have problems. So we have 2¼ cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to put in there, we have 1/2 cup of oats. These are the traditional or the regular. You can use the quick oats, it doesn't matter which one. 1/2 cup of those. And then we've got a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a pinch, I have a little more than a pinch of cinnamon. that we're gonna put in. And I'm just gonna whisk this around. Get it evenly dispersed. Okay, that should do it. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is add about half of this mixture first, let it mix around just until it's combined, and then I'll add the other half. Again, it just prevents things from getting too clumpy. Good.
Daddy, will you please give me more water, please?
Okay, now we'll add the other half of our dry ingredients.
I'm gonna have all of this on.
And we have a visitor. Stop eating my ingredients.
We have a vegetable coming.
You're the visitor.
Oh no.
Okay. So we're gonna add the rest of those dry ingredients. And I think that should do it. We just want it so that you don't see streaks of the flour and the baking soda in there. You want it all combined. The next ingredients we're gonna add, and you just want to stir. You don't want to use your mixer if you're using one. You don't want to do that next step. Like this. So I'm gonna clean off our paddle a little bit here. Or a lot of it. I don't want to leave any goodies on here. Okay. Okay. Take the bowl off of there. So we have, what do we have? We have, is it 3/4? Let me check. 1 3/4 cups of, I would say, small chopped walnuts. You don't want them too big because then it's going to be hard to scoop out your dough to put on your cookie tray. But you don't also want them to be chopped so fine that it sort of disappears into the dough. So 1 3/4 cups of those, and then as my son was just stealing some out of the bowl, it should be 2 3/4, no, 2 2/3 cup of chocolate chips. I'm using semi-sweet chocolate chips, that's what I prefer, but if you like milk chocolate or all dark, whatever, you do you, boo. You do what you want. We're gonna use semi-sweet today, and we're gonna stir them in. The dough isn't really stiff, but it's also not super soft, so you do have to work it a little bit to get it all stirred in. Okay. I think we did it. The next step is I have preheated my oven to 300 degrees. That's something that's a little unusual. That's kind of a lower temp. Most cookies you're gonna do at 350 or 375. But this one does specifically say to do 300, and I think that's to help control the spread. You may know this already, but that's one of the factors. Your oven temperature is one of the factors that will determine whether your cookies raise and stand up or whether they spread out while they're baking. At any rate, I'm going to use my cookie scoop to scoop out my dough and put it on my trays, I would, if you don't have, these are Silpat or silicone baking mats. If you don't have these, you can use parchment paper, or if you don't have those either, you can also grease your cookie sheets. I'm skeptical of almost any recipe that tells you not to grease your pan or your sheet, because inevitably, whenever I try that, it sticks. So I just almost always, there are a few instances where you wouldn't want to do that if it says specifically in your recipe, but we'll talk about that some other time. So I've got these on my cookie sheet. I'm going to use my cookie scoop. If you don't have a scoop, it's about 2 or 3 tablespoons worth. So these aren't going to be tiny cookies, but they're not the gigundo, somewhere in between. That's the size that we like. So I'm going to do that, put them on the trays, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so I've got our cookie dough on the cookie trays, and if you have, I don't know if you can see, if you have any bits that are poking out, these seem to be pretty good, but just give them a little tap in. If you have bits that are sticking out or a little irregular, then those parts can tend to get too crispy or burn. So what we're going to do is put these into the oven for, let me check so I don't tell you the wrong thing. Recipe says 20 to 24 minutes. Part of that is because of the lower temperature oven, but I'm always skeptical in every baking recipe of the time, so I'm gonna start checking these around, I'd say 16 minutes or so, so that they don't overbake. But I'm gonna put these in the oven. We're gonna start checking around 16 minutes to see if they're just ever so slightly starting to get a light golden brown around the edge. And if so, then we'll take them out. If they need another couple minutes, we'll do that. But I'll do that and I'll bring you back. Okay, friends, we're back. It was just about 16 minutes that I left these cookies in, and they're perfect. They are a little bit golden brown around the outer edge. They will, as they cool, these will, shall we say, deflate slightly. That's normal and that's okay. You'll want to let them cool pretty well on the trays before you try to move them, otherwise they can fall apart and get kind of screwed up. I did not space all of my cookies the best, as you can see. A couple of them are a little bit too close together, but I was trying to get as many as I could on the tray, blah, blah, blah. But, so that is a consideration. Space your cookies out, because these will have some spread. But, there you go. Give these a try. The Doubletree Dupe chocolate chip cookies. Let me know what you think. If you like them, it's one of my family's favorites. And pretty easy to do, right? And doesn't take very long. Bake time isn't crazy. So, yeah. Give this video a thumbs up. Like it if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And I can't wait until the next time we cook or bake together. So I'll see you later. Bye.